Okay. So I changed the time for this on StreamYard, but I'm not sure if that really translates over to YouTube. So looks like we're there. So today I am talking about dating. And if you're considered single until you're married, and it's interesting because someone asked me to kind of talk about how to your mate. Um, and so, what I want to do is kind of go over just some things that I grew up with, right? So, first of all, I personally believe that a person that is not married to another individual is considered single. Whether they are involved with another person or not, they are considered single until they're married. So if you fill out any, type of, doctor, family type history, sometimes they'll ask you if you're single, you're married, or whatnot. But there is no boyfriend or girlfriend option. If something were to happen to you, unfortunately, your girlfriend or your boyfriend really wouldn't have any legal right to inquire about you. You know what I mean? A lot of times, some hospitals, they're very strict where it's like only immediate family, and sometimes boyfriends and girlfriends don't count. So, when you think about that, you think about, that, technically people who are involved with other people that they're not married with, they are considered single. And, even I'm involved with somebody, and, he had a problem with this conversation because he's like, well, you saying that, you're available to other people. And, I look at it like this: I'm available to happiness, whether that is with you or someone else, because your intentions were not obvious, and life happens as it should, regardless. I think if I don't have a ring on my finger, I feel like my options are always going to be open. They may not be open to the extent of being open to solicitations. They may not be open, and it's all about some people. They're very like, I'm with you, I'm not going to explore other options. I'm more like, I don't want to deal with multiple people at the same time. And so I like to keep my relationships monogamous. So even though I have the mindset that I am single until a man puts a ring on my finger and he's my husband, I still believe that you should have respect towards the courtship that you're trying to, see develop. And going with that point, what is the purpose of dating? You know what I mean? What is the purpose of individuals dating each other? And you go back to the old school, and a lot of times courtship was about getting married, determining, aspects about that individual that you could see as an amicable mate. The Bible tells us that a man will leave his father and his mother and he will stick with his wife, right? So the whole end game for dating is marriage. A lot of people tend to look at dating with a very worldly view, where you can kind of be this kid in a candy store, and until you figure yourself out, you can just go out there and figure everybody else out. I don't agree with that assessment. I think that dating needs to have an intention with it. And if you don't have intentions in dating, then maybe you shouldn't do it. I think, getting away from the I don't want to be alone complex and getting more realistic to what are you ultimately open to sharing your life with. You know what I mean? That's basically what it's all about. Because when you're in a relationship with somebody, everybody who's been in a relationship, we know you have to make adjustments. Whatever those life adjustments are, you have to make adjustments. Whether you're wild and out in these streets and you found somebody, and now you gotta, turn your pimp card in for a while, see how that works out. Regardless, you gotta have intentions. And so one of the things that I like to tell people to do is kind of look at dating like a resume. I used to be a recruiter, and a lot of this, I was a very thorough recruiter. So I looked at the person's work history. I looked at their time on job. I looked at the skills that they've acquired in between those jobs. And I kind of looked at that as a really good way to kind of case a prospective mate. So when dating, you kind of look at it as like the resume review. Okay, first of all, you got to figure out what your intentions are. So what do you want to get out of this dating process? Are you looking for companionship? Are you looking for someone who will be your prospective marriage mate? You have to make those decisions because companionship is different than a prospective marriage mate. People that seek the companions, they're looking for somebody to kick it with. We together, we said we were together, but we have no type of legal or spiritual ties to each other outside of the fact that we have these titles that you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend, whatever. You need to understand kind of what you're going into it with, and then you can start casing that person. So obviously, the first thing I did as a recruiter is I looked at the work history, right? So you got to go through the relationship history. A lot of people think that you should not ask people about their past when you're dating them, and I absolutely disagree with that. You have to understand that past to see if that they're going to make sense for your present. You know what I mean? So asking those tough questions about what went wrong. And here's the thing, people, they tend to be uncomfortable, just like job interviews, right? Your hiring manager is going to ask you pressurized questions to kind of understand the scope of your capabilities and your experience. Same way with dating. Same way with dating. You have to ask the right questions to really understand the scope of what you're getting into. You know what I mean? How long was your last relationship? What went wrong? What are things that you saw that you did wrong? And obviously, you have to be able to do those same things. Go over your relationship history, talk about those things gone wrong, talk about those learning curves, and talk about how you were able to move forward more sensibly. These are very important conversations. You know what I mean? And people, it's so funny. I get tagged with some of these passionately ignorant people, and they're like, you ain't got a ring on your finger. And it's like, I had a ring on my finger and I divorced the guy. Okay. So, and I did that because I recognized things that I did not have, mentally going on with myself that put me in a position to be prepared to be somebody's wife. I can own the fact that I was not ready to be somebody's wife at 21 years old. I thought I was grown, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? But being married that one time and we had a child and we did not get pregnant before we got married. We did everything right. We got married, then we had our child. But it was one of those things where when you're in a position of being forced to do things the right way, you make the wrong decision. I think that I married him because we were dating and we did not want to fornicate. We both grew up in a very religious household and we didn't want to fornicate. And so we made the decision, to just get married so that we wouldn't, do anything immoral. But that wasn't a good decision. You know what I mean? I was young, I was stupid, I didn't know myself, I didn't know my worth. I didn't even acquire any, sense of self to make that decision. And the same thing with my daughter's dad. He was young, he was immature. We thought that we could handle a situation that we were not prepared for. And as a result, we learned a lot of things about each other, about the arrangements of marriage that just did not work for us in that time in our lives. So fast forward, I've been proposed to 2 times after that. And I said no, because I realized when it got to the point of the proposal, I felt like the man was obviously ready for something that I was not. And I realized that I had commitment issues. I have commitment issues. Women have commitment issues too. And I think part of those commitment issues is wanting to actualize ourselves in a fashion where we can actually target the type of person that makes more sense and align with us. So I've had these issues, like commitment issues, for years. Maybe I'm like a guy when it comes to that, but I can understand people having those types of issues because maybe they feel like they're not as actualized as a person as they want to be. I always tell people, be the person that you want to date. Be the person that you want to date. If you are not an actualized person, it is not fair for you to get with somebody that is and expect for them to actualize you. That's why I tell people, date with intentions. What do you want to get out of this situation? Are you looking for companionship, or are you looking for a prospective marriage mate? And then if you're looking for a prospective marriage mate, what are the qualities that you have identified as, being worthy of your prospective husband or wife? You know what I mean? People don't identify what they really want out of a relationship or a person before they just jump in. You know what I mean? So the dating resume questions will kind of help you to get there. You know, what is that? What is your relationship history? What went wrong? And if that person is not comfortable talking about these things, if this person can't give you a straight answer, leave them alone. They're not the person for you. They're hiding something. If you can't get straightforward answers out of somebody about what went wrong in a previous relationship, so you can better assess if this relationship is going to work for you, leave that person alone. That's a red flag right there. That's a red flag when you ask somebody, what are you looking for? And they can't give you an answer. Ask people, we should know what the hell we're looking for in a relationship by now. A lot of us have screwed up in relationships enough to know what we're looking for in a relationship. And if a grown person that is in the dating space can't answer that question, they need to be left alone to self-evaluate. If you ask a person, tell me about your previous relationship, what went wrong, what are some things that you would have changed, and they're uncomfortable talking about that, they can't give you a straight answer, everything was the other person's fault, leave that person alone. They don't have accountability. And that these are things that people need to be looking for. I get a lot of my female friends, and they'll say that they met a guy, and they tell them all the sob stories about how some other woman mistreated them, and this is what they putting on the table. First thing, yeah, she did that, but you didn't do nothing. You was a perfect angel in that relationship, and it was all her fault, or it was all his fault. When a relationship fails, typically the accountability are on both ends, whether people want to admit that or not. And that's why I make a practice of owning the fact that I've made mistakes in relationship, so that other people will see that it's okay for you to do that. You know what I mean? And I think that, when you start thinking that every woman is monolithic, then you start thinking that all of us are like Kevin Samuels' description, where we're not accountable and we don't understand if things gone wrong. But again, these conversations are two ways. They are two ways. Everybody has accountability. So getting back to the dating resume, once you've asked those serious questions, this is usually what I did as a recruiter, asking a serious question, seeing how these people answer those questions. Now I have to make a decision within myself. Is this a person that I should move forward with, giving my time and my energy to this person, or should I just be? And once you do that, and again, this is assessing the person that you're dating. Then if you decide to move forward, then you can start going with planning and expectations, right? Now, obviously, when you're in a dating phase, you're getting to know somebody. You don't expect for them to wife you or hug you up right away. That's not practical, but as you are getting to know this person, you need to be making, the right observations about this person. How do they talk to men and women? How do they view headship of a house? You know what I mean? How many men actually ask their women, how do you view headship of a house before you start dating her? I would love to challenge some of these passionately ignorant dudes who are crying about leadership and all that shit. How many women have you asked before you date or while you were dating, what are your views of headship? How many women can ask that question too? Again, dating with intentions. A lot of people aren't doing that. A lot of people on a microphone complaining, crying about what somebody else did. But at the end of the day, a lot of that accountability of failed relationships will fall on you. Whether you're a man or a woman, it's going to fall on you. I don't give a fuck what nobody say on the internet. Okay. But then money management, that's another thing. A lot of relationships fail because people are not observing how other people are thinking about money and dealing with money. See, everybody caught up in the love and the boo thing stuff, but nobody's looking at the logistics of relationship. We're not asking the right questions. And money management has a lot to do with that career path, because in a dating resume assessment, you're asking about that person's job and you're curious about their career path and you're asking about their time on job. Those are very of questions to ask when you were dating somebody, not just about the relationship history, but the actual work history matters too, because you have to see if this person has a history of unstable working experience. You have to understand if this person doesn't have an area of expertise that even if they lose their job tomorrow, they can go into something else. You know what I mean? And when men talk about being the leader of the household and women should take a back seat, and we live in an economy where you need two incomes, I really would think about, the fact that their woman does need to have a skill or a capability to compete in the capital system. Because if your ass get into a car accident tomorrow and become a quadriplegic, she's going to have to hold it down. So I think that men being threatened by professional women, I think that they need to reassess that, thinking that women should stand behind them, because there may be a circumstance in life where that woman needs to be by your side, holding it down for y'all. And you can't be having the habit of disrespecting this woman and treating her like shit and expect for her to do that with glee. And that's my whole issue with some of these, Kevin Samuels supporters. I don't think that when you listen to what Kevin Samuels say in retrospect, he has a lot of sensibilities. But I also think the fallout of a lot of the Kevin Samuels rhetoric as of lately is it puts men in the mindset that it's okay to communicate with women in a certain way and disrespect them. And again, thinking about your relationship dynamic, if you became a quadriplegic, Tyler Perry had a movie. Fuck, what was the name of that movie? God, it was like one of the first ones he came out with. He had Kimberly Elise in there, and the husband was so rude, so tyrannical, and then he got all messed up. It was a Medea movie, and he became a quadriplegic, and she pretty much had to take care of his ass. You know what I mean? He had to take care of her ass. And what happened during that dynamic, right? What happened during that dynamic, right? So being selective in dating, number one, first point we went over was the dating resume. Understanding that work history. The relationship history. Asking those serious questions about the previous relationships. Nobody should feel uncomfortable or talking about the things going wrong unless they are an ain't shit person that want to hide shit from you. And you need to run away from those people. They said, Rocky. All right. Then planning and expectations. Now that you've identified this person, okay, what is your plan with them? You're going to get to know them. How are you going to get to know them? You're going to observe them around their family once you get to that point of meeting the family. Once you get to the point of introducing them to your children, if you're a single mother, you're going to observe them around your children, right? And if you have kids, you have to take it a step further and kind of check the sex registry. I'm adamant. If you're a single woman, check the sex registry. Make sure you ain't dating nobody on it. That's code, for real. Again, and then, so after, you assess this person, how they manage their finance, how they manage their money, what their emotional disposition is. Have you ever met a dude that's just so sweet to you, and then when you go out in public and somebody offends him or do something wrong, he go from 0 to 100 real quick? Those are red flags. Those are red flags. How a person treats strangers out in public, whether it's a male or female, it's really indicative of how they might treat you. You know what I mean? If you got a female that's rude for no reason, trust and believe, no matter how nice she is to you courting, Once she locks you down, she's about to turn into the devil. Same way with some of these dudes out here. Same way. And then again, define your needs. Tell me exactly what you want. I'll tell you exactly what I need. And romance. You know what I mean? People aren't dating with intentions. And I think a lot of people who have failed in relationships will admit the fact that they're not dating with intentions. No, I do not date men. You don't men. Are you a woman or a man? Whoever you date, these strategies could work for you and them as well. But on the other side, it's like, define your needs. You know what I mean? Like I said, define your needs. Tell people exactly what you want. Tell people exactly what you're looking for. And again, have the uncomfortable conversations. Have the uncomfortable conversations. What went wrong? And if that person starts stuttering, they can't tell you, everything was the other person's fault, run away. Run away. Because that person is not going to be an individual that is going to serve you emotionally for the long term. So these are my strategies. Being selective in dating, being conscious of what you want and being conscious of what you need and being able to put that on the table, and also understanding what the other person wants and what they need. Dating with intentions. Are you looking for a companion? Excuse me. Or are you looking for someone to be your marriage mate? Some people are looking for that one. Some people are just looking for somebody to kick it with. Either scenario, whatever your intentions are, put them on the table so that the person that you're dating can make the best decision for themselves. You know what I mean? A lot of women will say, this is what I'm looking for. And the dude just want to get in her pants or gas her up. I mean, we got to, I don't like man bashing. I don't like women bashing. I think we're all fucked up in our own little special way. You know what I mean? But I don't like the pointing fingers of accountabilities. You know what I mean? I really don't like that, because there are men out here right now talking about women don't respect men. I mean, you're emasculating men and you're not good leaders. And I will say that until the cows come home. A lot of you guys do not deserve half of the women that you have broken their hearts. And I'll say it again. It's like, why do we always, during the dating process, and that's why I say, ladies, when the man is your boyfriend, he should not have husband treatment. And that's the final point that I want to make. We keep treating our men and our women like their husbands and wife. Calling men, that's my hubby, because y'all been dating for, a year. He ain't have no intentions of putting a ring on your finger. That's my wifey. And don't ever take a promise ring from nobody. Promise rings are garbage. Wedding rings are gold. You know what I mean? People need to really stop giving credit to people. And, like I said, don't be moving in. I think we really need to take a lot of this dating back to the old school so that people can really start to understand how to go about it the right way. Stop moving in with people. Economically, if you feel like it is so economically better for you and your girlfriend or your boyfriend to move in, and y'all been dating for 1 or 2 years, y'all might as well just get your asses married. Just get married. Like, I don't understand people who are lingering in relationships for extended durations of time. Then they decide to consolidate their lives. And then there's this expectation of having husband and wife treatment. You guys have not set vows before God. Hell, you didn't even sign the contract before the state. So how is that your husband? How is that your wife? I think that people need to get out of the common law mindset with dating and make a decision. You know what I mean? Make a decision. Make a decision. Black people, we keep talking about the Black family and all this craziness, but we're not going to talk. We keep shifting over the accountabilities. We keep making accountabilities easier for people. You know what I mean? A lot of these women, I really wish there was a statistic. I wish that somebody would run a study. What is the average duration of time that a man and a woman dates before a child out of wedlock comes into the equation? What is the statistics of individuals who have children out of wedlock? Number one, their age, and then duration of time. Because I know a lot of individuals who have had kids together. These men are living with these women. They are basically operating as if they're husband and wife, and they're not married. And you're telling me that, marry before you carry, right? But back in the day, if a man got a woman pregnant, he hurried up and married her. So we got a lot of black men out here shaming their women. Women are shaming themselves, but men are shaming women all the same. We got a lot of unaccountable people out here. So, you can point fingers one way or the other, but there's a lot of unaccountable people in this dating game right now. They're not being selective. They're not asking the right questions. They're not planning. They're not observing these people's money management habits. They're not observing their emotional disposition. They're not observing how these individuals interact with individuals they don't know or people around them. We're not doing nothing of that. It's all vanity. And so I want people to really start minding their dating behaviors. Date with intentions. Date with intentions. If you are looking for a solid relationship that you would like to see blossom into marriage, tell that person so that they understand if they're just looking for companionship, they can leave you alone. We have to start dating with intentions and putting the right things on the table. The right things on the table. Asking the tough questions with the dating resume. How long were you in your last relationship? What went wrong? What were some of your accountabilities? What could you have changed? If they don't want to put any of the accountabilities of the last relationship on themselves and it's all on the other person, run away. So thank you so much to the individuals that tuned in. I hope that this was helpful. Let's start having intentions. If our idea is to start getting back to structured families, we got to start structuring our dating habits. We have to start dating with more intention. And that intention is not just our own, it's also understanding the intention of the other person so that we can make the best decision and they can make the best decision for them. And maybe, we won't have so many broken relationships. So, any questions, comments, concerns? Thank you again for tuning in. I wanted to cover this topic because, like I said, I feel like there's a lot of conversations about dating and relationships, but I would love to see them just narrow down. You know what I mean? I saw a guy, and I forgot his name on YouTube. He talked about the top 7 men that cheat. And I was all for that because he gave a very honest perspective. He did not bash women, which I love, but he was honest. And I think the more we can be very directly honest, but without demeaning each other and having good conversations, I think that this type of stuff is good for growth. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye.